In fact, this is one of about 4 seminars that have been designed to help our final year project students to come out with a good project work. And today's seminar is specifically on how to write an excellent literature review. And today we are so privileged to have 2 of our senior colleagues, all from the business school, to help us go through the topic for today's seminar. So without wasting time, I will introduce our facilitators, 2 of them. The first facilitator for this evening's program is Dr. Davidkingboison. So a brief background of our facilitator. Dr. Davidkingboison is an experienced consultant, lecturer, former IT manager at the Ghana Ports and Harbors Authority. He is deeply involved in IT, corporate strategy, and research with a focus on optimization, artificial intelligence, big data analytics. Dr. Boison's expertise extends to supply chain management, leading to significant cost reduction in electronic port projects. Currently, he serves as a senior lecturer and department head at the Ghana Communication Technology University, where he imparts practical knowledge to students. Outside academia, he is the chairman of the Ethics Committee of National Health Insurance Authority and also chairman of the Ethics Board of Ghana Institute of Freight Forwarders. Dr. Boison's impressive educational qualifications and certification further validate his contributions to the field. He was the concept developer and implementer of the port automation system, now the paperless port system at Ghana Ports and Harbors Authority, and is a certified Prince 2 project practitioner. Dr. Boison, welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Afari, for the opportunity.
All right. Now to our second facilitator is Dr. Ethel Yarabon. She's a senior lecturer with 8 years research and teaching experience in higher education and founder of Ethel Humanitarian and Empowerment Projects. She has participated in a number of research activities which have resulted in about 30 peer-reviewed publications and supervised over 60 postgraduate and undergraduate theses and projects. Her research interests are in leadership, sociology of health, healthcare technology, elderly care, and change management. Dr. Ethel has previously served as a program manager, module leader, and head of academic affairs at the Graduate School of Ghana Communication Technology University. She is currently a full-time lecturer at the Department of Management and HR Studies at GCTU. She holds a PhD in Management Science and Engineering from Jiangsu University, China, an MPhil in Sociology, a BA in Sociology with Philosophy, both from the University of Ghana, Legon. She also holds a number of online certificates from reputable international institutions. Dr. Ethel Yarabon, you are also welcome.
Thank you, sir.
Currently, a number of participants is over 100, and we are so impressed to have all of you on board. a number of our participants are outside of the business school. So if you are one of those, you'll be very, very happy if you could maybe indicate where you joined us from, especially if you are coming outside of Ghana Communication Technology University. So without wasting time, I will hand over to our facilitators to start today's program. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. So I will be starting briefly. I will be acting like John the Baptist and usher in Dr. Kingboison. So I'd like to first of all thank you all for being here. Of course, if we organized this program and came and there was no one, it would have been a disaster. So thank you for coming, taking your work seriously and deeming this important enough to be here. I need to just share my screen. Please, are you seeing my screen?
Yes.
Thank
Yes,
you.
please.
Madam.
Yes.
Great. Right. So we don't have much time. So the plan is for me to begin by touching on some key areas of literature review. I believe that at this stage, you have heard a lot about literature review in your lectures, especially. And by now that we are expecting that you should have gotten to your third chapter, I believe that you have learned certain things already. So we don't want to bore you with too much words. So I am not going to talk too much, maybe some 15 to 20 minutes at most. And then Dr. Boison will come in and take us through some practical things as much as time will allow. So first of all, we just want to look at briefly what is the literature review we are talking about. We are saying that it is the largest written section of our thesis. And so here we are expected to review what people have done already. We're supposed to summarize, to interpret, to critically evaluate existing literature, okay, in order to establish current knowledge of a subject. And so in this case, whatever subject area that we are interested in and going to do our study on, our thesis, our project, whatever it is we are doing. So this is like the biggest part where you would find yourself looking at a lot of written stuff, literature. And so you will be writing quite a lot on this chapter, and it is usually the chapter 2, okay? And you will realize that the name is research, okay? Like we say, it is research of literature review. And so what you are doing is that there has already been a search done by someone, and you are going to dig it out. What you want to do is that make sure that you look at everything as much as possible that is relevant to what you are doing. So sometimes I feel that students think that they should display how good they are in writing very big words and all. And so they don't even want to refer to anyone I find that a lot, and it's as if to show that I can write. And so when I see that, immediately I know the student does not know what literature review is about. So you need to establish that first knowledge, that I am supposed to look at what people have done. And that means that at every point in time, I am citing and I am referring, I'm referencing. Very, very key. Okay, so that we don't find ourselves just putting together words. Now, how crucial is literature review? Is it even necessary? Why am I bothering myself? After all, what I want to do is do a study. So why am I bothering? It is very important because you want to demonstrate an understanding of existing research on the subject matter that you are dealing with. You want to be able to contribute to the community of knowledge, to academia. You want to be part of the community. And so you have to look at what people have done. People have come ahead of you. So you want to check what has been done in this area. Okay, imagine you chance a group of people talking about a subject matter, and you feel that you have an opinion about it. And so you jump in and just start talking without hearing what has been discussed so far. What is going to happen is that you are likely to start saying something that probably somebody has said already, or something that has been discussed and concluded on and is no longer an issue. Okay, and so it is important for you to know what has been done already. Very, very crucial. Okay, and so you want to behave like an expert in that area, sorry. You want to be like one, so that by the time you finish your study, it means that you have mastered to some extent something around the subject matter that you are talking about. Okay. Secondly, you want to be able to define or refine your objectives or research questions. Okay, because probably by now you have some topic, fine. But this literature review, in fact, is like the lifeline to your entire study, because at some point, even when you are choked up and probably you have to change it, it's not all the time that the topic you start with is what you finish with. So you have to keep reviewing and analyzing literature to be able to do that. So you want to be able to keep reading and looking at literature to enable you have a grasp on it. It also helps you to identify the gaps. And this is like the basic or the most important thing. When you are looking at literature, you want to know what it is that I can add. What new knowledge should I even be embarking on this study at all? Okay, because sometimes you read and realize that, oh, what I thought was a problem is actually not a problem. So I probably should not do this. Maybe I should change the topic because it is not what I thought it was. Somebody has done this search and has failed it. Or, oh, it's actually a bigger problem. So let me actually expand my focus on my objectives or my research questions. So it's very, very crucial. Now, what is literature review not? What is it not? It is not a bunch of words or jargons that we put together. Sometimes I realize that students think that they just need to dump some words on us, okay? And my former dean at Legon Sociology used to say satanic verses. So when you don't know what you're talking about, what you do is you just copy some plenty words from somewhere and you just dump it on the page for the supervisor or the reader to figure it out. That is not what you want to do. You want to make sure that it is something that is relevant and useful to that research and moving forward. It is not just an essay. It is not myself. So you are not coming to tell us your opinion about something. even though in analyzing and synthesizing and so on, you will bring in certain things that will come from your understanding. Yeah, so there is that aspect of how you see things, but the most crucial is coming from another point of view, what people are saying and what you think about what they are saying. So it is not just an essay. It is nothing new. There is nothing new under the sun. I wanted to chip in this and I didn't know how, but some way, somehow. So this is where I keep telling students that, look, whatever you want to do, someone somewhere must have touched it before, unless it is an area that is very new or something that has never happened. And of course, recently we experienced things like COVID, but even that, they had to start from something that might be close to it to be able to get to it, okay? So there's always someone who must have treaded that road and can give you something to start with. So always know that you are not the first. So begin by going to look at the literature. It is not so much of your perspective. I think this I've said already. It is not you per se. It is you wanting to bring in the perspective of the academic community. And I keep saying academic community because we want to make sure that it is authentic literature that you are reviewing, and that in saying that you are talking about peer-reviewed literature. And I think that Dr. Boison would also touch on that more for you to understand. So some tips, I'll call them general tips around literature review. You want to write an excellent literature review. What do you want to do? Number one, read, read, and read. You have to tell yourself that I want to do this and I want to do it well. And if you want to do that, then you will need to read. I know that in our parts of the world, reading can be something, but these days we are learning that it is all in reading. So you have to be able to have a plan. There are all sorts of, ways that work for people. Find what works for you. Okay, find what works for you, how best you can read. But first of all, you need to know the source. And so you need to find the best of sources of literature, peer-reviewed. Don't go to Wikipedia and just copy something and come and paste. I see that a lot. And when I see it, actually, I feel offended, that all you have given me is stuff from Wikipedia, where we don't even know who wrote what. Okay, so you want to make sure that you go to the right places, Google Scholar, ResearchGate. There are a lot of places. And these days, when you Google anything, how to even find a good peer-reviewed paper or journal or article, you will find it. You can go to our libraries, they are stocked. You can ask a friend. But for me, beginning with at our stage, when I was in my undergraduate, the first thing I did was to look for a fellow student, a past student or a senior student who was working on who had just finished. And I said, I'd like to look at your thesis. And they were kind enough to let me see them. Okay. And for me, because I wanted to know how it is done, and this is somebody from my department. The topic had nothing to do with something I was interested in. So all I did was to look at the structure. So you usually would want to know how it is done. So first of all, you start by going to the library. These days, our libraries are on our computers, on our phones. So you don't even have to walk to any if you don't want to. But you have to make it a point to read, and how you even save what you read or how you download that is a whole skill on its own that you have to learn. Okay, and then number 2, let your objectives guide you. Don't read without it. So at least when you are beginning, you have something to start with. You have at least a broad area that you are looking at. Probably you have gotten some objectives on your mind. Start with something, but your objectives is what you want to use to guide you throughout your literature review. Because sometimes you find out that people have a set of objectives or research questions, but their literature review is way miles away from their objectives. They don't connect, but that shouldn't be the case. Whatever you're doing, go back to your topic, go back to your objectives, and make sure that your literature review is following or drawing its source from that. In fact, you can even use your objectives as the headings for your literature review. And that brings me to a structure. You need to have a structure. You don't just start writing and then that's it. I've seen a literature review like that before. No single heading, several pages of writing without a single heading. It happens and it will surprise you. But there has to be some form of a structure, okay? And so you want to look at least beginning your literature review with maybe an introduction, okay, of what we should expect. And then you can go on to, if you have certain concepts that you think that are key and peculiar to your area that might confuse people, you want to make sure you explain them or you define them, okay, according to literature, right? And then you can proceed to have review some theories or review concepts in general that are concerned with your topic. So whatever topic you have, what are the theories that you can find there? And if you are reading other people's work, you will find them. There are theories around almost every concept. If there are none, there are concepts. There are general concepts. And so if you read and you realize that, okay, this is where I want this is the theory I want my research to fit on, you want to emphasize on that theory. Or you want to emphasize on a particular concept. Right. And so sometimes we have what we call a theoretical framework or a conceptual framework. Okay. If you are drawing your framework from different theories and concepts, at the end of the day, you want to draw from all of them or some of them and come up with a conceptual framework. That will be what will guide your research and even your collection of data. And it's like a framework that explains the outcome of your research. And all this you can understand if you're doing a good literature review. Number 4, you want to write first before cleaning up. This is always something that tends to draw us back. Those of us who are perfectionists, you want to have every word perfect before you continue, but that can kill your zeal. So the advice is for you to just keep writing as long as what you're writing down makes some sense. Don't bother about grammar and the spellings. Make sure you put the idea down, because sometimes the idea alone can fly away. So you want to write and be messy if you want to be messy from the beginning. You may not get everything perfect from the beginning, so just keep putting down the ideas. And then later you clean up and put things in the best of perspectives. Okay. You also want to make sure that you are inserting your citations as you go. This is something that students do. Sometimes they write a bunch of things for the supervisor to look at, and there are no citations. And I'm like, so what literature were you reviewing? Okay, because you are supposed to be looking at someone's work. Whose work did you look at that you have not cited, right? If you don't, it means that you are, possibly stealing somebody's work and making it look like it is yours. And we all know what that means. It means you are plagiarizing. So you don't want to do that. You want to make sure that you are inserting your citations as you go. Sometimes the thought is that, oh, I'll finish and then come back and get it. But that can mess you big time. So what you want to do is, these days, you don't have to crack your head and be struggling with where to put a punctuation and so on. You can get a good reference manager where it can teach you, or it helps you to organize the sources that you have. It will ask you to put in the authors, the title, the volume, the publishers, and so on. And after everything, it will automatically generate a reference list and even an in-text citation. And even you can use that in future. So if we don't have this, let's quickly do that, because it's very, very essential for literature review. Even your Microsoft Word has an inbuilt reference manager. And I think most people don't know, but it's very simple to do. Mendeley, I hear, is a very good one. We have EndNote, we have several of them. And from here, you may want to go and Google that or download it from YouTube and learn it. Or if somebody knows how to do it very well, we can do that. Or even if for this seminar series, probably in one of the sessions, they might be teaching us something like that. So very crucial. Yes, so originality, I've talked about that. And so I'll move on to know the format or guidelines of your school. So here you want to make sure that you have gone through by now. I want to believe that you've done that. You've gone through what the guidelines of the school is concerning the literature review section. In fact, the entire thesis paper. You want to make sure that you have looked at it and understood it, because there are always guidelines as to even the format. Every school has what they want. Sometimes even a supervisor might have more guidelines for you. You need to heed.
Are you there?
You're muted.
Dr. Adele? I think probably she dropped off. Dr. Adele, are you there?
Please, your microphone is muted.
Yeah, she's back. Adele.
Hello, am I being heard?
Yes,
Yeah,
please.
Okay, so sorry about that. I think I got muted. Okay, so I was talking about, the guidelines that we need to know, so that we make sure, especially for things like the form of referencing that you need to use. We have different types, the Harvard, we have APA and others. So you want to make sure that you understand what GCTU, business school, or whichever institution you find yourself is requiring that you use. And then I also want to say that have a mindset of, I want to know. That is the mindset for writing an excellent literature review. Because if you think you know it all, you won't even be searching. Okay, so the entire thesis that you are writing, it's an attempt to know something, an attempt to review knowledge. Sometimes I find people coming to defend their thesis and they're telling you what they personally know and not referring to what they actually dug out or found out from the entire research. So you want to have that mentality to help you succeed. Also, lastly, I want to say, work with your supervisor. Make sure that whatever it is you're doing, you are getting all the guidance you need from us who are being paid for this. So I'll leave it here and let my colleague take over. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you very much,
Very
Dr.
much.
Thank you.
So Afari, you want me to take it out
Yes.
from here?
Yes, before
Okay.
we have, yes.
Okay, so what I want to do is quickly, I want to know on the chart, what are the expectations of the students when it comes to literature review, so that we build what we are going to do around the expectations. So can we quickly use just a few minutes to type in the chat so that Afari, you read it to our hearing, so we know that we are able to achieve the expectations or not.
All right. So expectations. Let's know your expectations for, the seminar, please.
So for this actually, the review, just want to know what you expect. So are we reading from the chat?
Yes.
Hello, let's know your expectations. It's important we know. So if you can drop anything in the chat.
Someone has dropped something.
Okay, so let's read to our hearing. What did he say?
He says, okay, I think there are more.
Yes. I expect to know more about all the theories or frameworks, such as, is it theoretical, empirical, or conceptual? So the person wants to know more about theories, conceptual framework, empirical framework, and then the rest.
Okay, let's read the first 5 and then we can start. Yeah.
Okay. The next one is a question. Lovia wants to find out how many articles should be used for your literature review on the average.
Okay.
Okay, so I think these are the only comments. Yes.
Okay.
So, Dr. Etel, so what I'm doing is that
Mm-hmm.
what you just did, I'm just trying to model a practical aspect around what
Okay.
you just did.
To follow. Okay. Okay.
So-
That would be excellent.
So to follow. All right.
Right.
Let me share my screen.
Hmm.
All right. So you can see my screen, right?
Mm.
No, sir.
No, no, yeah. Okay, yes.
Yes,
No.
sir.
Yes, please.
Okay. All right. So Dr. Etel, thank you so much for the overview. You've made the work easier. So this is just a similar lecture that I gave to some students at Accra Technical University. I deliberately left the date there. Now, I took this feedback from them, and I believe that what you are all asking probably might fall within. The first one, my problem with research methodology, that will be done another time. Another person said that he wants to, most time it is difficult to find relevant information to search. Relevant information in relation to the research problem, searching for the right literature, and then I get lost as I read and read. Who has experience? Which of you have experienced this? You can just drop that. Have you found yourself that you are reading and you got lost, right? And then searching for, how do I link my literature review with my problem? It is challenging finding articles for topics and also rephrasing when writing. So all these have been the challenges that students over the period have had. But to tell you that Dr. Etel said something. He said it is and search, right? So the act of searching for literature is actually a skill that you are building for yourself. And we need to avert our minds to that. It's a skill that you are building. You want to search for literature, it's a skill that you are building. So the data, it's not there. It is not easily accessible. You need to search and then reproduce that data in a manner that makes sense, okay, academically, and then also that makes sense to industry. Basically, that is what we are doing. So enjoy the act of searching, because when you are searching for something, you don't expect to see what you are searching. You need to dig deep. And for some of us who are into Galamsey, if you are into Galamsey, is it easy to get gold on the site? Have you seen what the guys they do? They go down some 17 feet, 20 feet just to look for gold. And sometimes they find nothing. You understand? So that is the search. That's a typical example of search. Sometimes the whole day, nothing, they are unable to find anything. And sometimes you sit behind your computer, you try to search something. I was sharing with Dr. Etel that I was doing a systematic literature review, and I haven't downloaded, gone through all the, and then now using the keywords to search everything, I got the articles. Now, just to let you know that I realized that what I was looking for in over 300 papers, I didn't get any. So all that I've done, I mean, in my mind, I might think it's a waste. But come to think of it, reading 300 abstracts, that builds some sort of competence. At least you have an idea what is happening within the space. So let's enjoy that. So I want us to work with the practical aspect where now we want to start our literature and we want some sort of strategy to start, okay? But take note, the first thing probably we need to do, and as Dr. Eitel said, is that our research questions, assuming you have your topic already, but also take note that the topic itself, you get to know the topic through literature review. And for those who joined that seminar that I did, I told you that even in writing the proposal, how to get the topic is based on the number of papers that you review and the fact that you're able to identify the gaps. And I told them that don't worry yourself, every paper you read, look at the topic and jump to the limitation of the study. Go to the limitation of the study. By standard, every peer review paper, they will indicate that you would have to what? I mean, indicate limitation of the study. And the limitation of the study, they add something, they say future research direction. After giving the limitation, you get your future research direction. So what you then do is that you leverage on what the paper has said. And if what you want to do is within that context, you could even take a topic from the future research direction. You could even take something from the gap. Maybe the guy was doing a topic on something, maybe procurement management, maybe hospitality. And then he has indicated that, okay, for this particular study, the limitation was that the sample size was limited. And future study could look at extending the sample size to cover other regions. So it means that I could pick the same topic and then now extend the sample size in my methodology. If the guy used 100, I can do 200 or 300, same topic, same method. If he did indicate that the method that he used, I mean, there were issues with the tools that he used, and that future study should extend it, maybe they use descriptive statistics, and now they should do some sort of correlation analysis, then you would have said that to close this gap, you would want to introduce another statistical tool or another, I mean, data analysis method that is what you're using the correlational, I mean, tools to do, or a correlational what design, so that now you close this gap. And to let you know, in research, we don't pick very big things to do. We are building blocks. So someone does something, he gets to somewhere, and what you are going to do, and like what Dr. Eitel said, you need to look at what has been done and then make sure that what you are going to do is not what somebody has already done. The problem or the gap that you seek to address, if somebody has solved that problem, what you need to do is to look for a different problem within that same context, and then we build. And as we build, it is the research that we are doing, and as we build on, that makes the world what it is today. From the toothpick to the skyscrapers we see today, it's as a result of the papers that you see people are publishing, and they are solving problems. So businessmen pick this thing, and then now they turn it to product and services. So in your mind, what you are doing something scientific to make sure that at the end of the day, in research, some aspect of it, we say implication of the study. And so for peer-reviewed papers, they will say implication of the study, you need to indicate the implication of the study to literature. And the literature is academia. So how does it extend literature? How does it bring new what? Ideas? And then they say policy relevance. How does it drive policy? How does it help organization to redesign its policy? And then they will also talk about the fact that its relevance to what? Practice. For industry guys, how does it help them in practice? How can we actionalize what we have done? So these things, we should have that in mind. And that is why in conducting your literature review, as Dr. Ethel said, that is the largest in your work, one will have to do a thorough work so that you do not put yourself in a position that you will get findings that are not relevant. And remember, as researchers, we are also social sciences doctors, because the findings that we produce, other people use it for something. So imagine that you don't follow the due process. So if you're a medical doctor, you are going to kill someone, because in the first place, your literature review was not well founded based on what? The research questions. And the research questions didn't emanate from what? The problem. The problem was not structured around the topic. So there is no consistency from the topic right to what? The findings. And that becomes a problem. And that borders on what we call validity and reliability in studies. So what I say is that whilst you have your research questions, and here, let me say this is, let me be very careful. Sometimes you begin to review the literature and realize that no, what you are trying to target has already been addressed. Somebody sent a paper to me that he's using for his PhD, only to find out that someone in Ghana has done a similar thing. Then I said, don't worry. What we did was that we went to the limitation. The guy used panel data for the past 10 years, and it ended in 2018. So I told him that between 2018 and 2023 or 2022, a new data set has emerged. So now you also do the last 10 years, but now you are picking it from what? 2012 to 2022. Of course, the sample is 10 years, but different indicators. The same topic is going to modify the methodology, but he's going to do the same thing. So he's adding something to what is, missing in literature. So you have your key terms. And this is what I say. For every, at the undergrad level, that is a general advice. Other researchers might have different views. At this level, for each research question, I advise the minimum you should have 5 papers for the area that addresses that specific research question. So in other words, if we have 3 research questions, you are going to do 3 reviews. And these reviews we are talking about, take note, is the empirical literature review. I'm not talking about the other ones. The empirical literature review, and we are going to come to this. So the research question, you look for the key terms in the research questions. The key terms, if you are doing something about the impact of procurement on operational performance, impact of inventory practices, or the impact of marketing something on something, make sure that these key terms are the ones that you're going to use for your search to be able to get your publication. And this is what I tell students. So let me give you a typical example. Someone should type any topic in the type any topic in the chat. Let me pick it up. Any topic. Hello. So you guys don't have any topic.
I see.
I'm just going to do a review for someone free of charge.
You know.
So I'm typing.
I've seen culture and the role of strategic management in corporate performance. Okay, so let's look at that. So now, before you do that, there's something we call the data gathering strategy. That is what I do. Other researchers might do a different thing. And this is how I structure it. And Dr. Ethel says something. Please, let's mute the person. Dr. Ethel says something that don't go through your papers without, having anything that should guide you. And in other words, she was saying that without your research objective or research question, I'm going to add a table like this. Okay, And let me also get back and then draw your attention to this. I told my procurement students some time past that research itself is life, because whatever we do on earth or whatever man has been able to achieve is as a result of research. In fact, other institutions and other countries invest huge sums of money. Go and look at US, what's the amount of money, that's the percentage of GDP that they invest into research, right? They invest a lot. So research is something that you need to take serious. Personally, and that's what I told them, I started reading article a day in 2011. And I do it as a ritual. In fact, it's like when I have not read a paper, I have not tasted or have not eaten. If you do that and this becomes part of you, you can imagine a paper, a published paper might take between 10 and 15 pages. And if you are doing that year round for 365 days, let's assume you are doing even 200 days, okay? Just imagine for the next 3-4 years, you will be a walking encyclopedia, all right? Knowledge, we say, is power. So that attitude should be there. And especially when you're doing your research, it should become part of you, because every day, if you devote 1 hour, you should be able to read a paper. And when you are reading, don't read without a template like this. First of all, you want to know the title of the paper and the artist, the method that they use, that I'm going to show you how to do that. The method, you look at the design and the tools that they use for analysis. And then you want to look at the findings from the study. And then more importantly, the limitations, which we call the gaps, because they are the gaps in literature. That is what the study was not able to address. And then I've introduced another variable called country. Sometimes, because you want your research to be, your literature review should touch on a regional level. You might want to be very selective when you are selecting the paper so that you touch on at least every country. If you are doing within the West African sub-region, the study might be a case study in Ghana. But once you are reviewing literature from that perspective, you are only telling the audience that this is what is happening in other jurisdictions. And carefully, when you are now talking about generalizing your findings, because you reviewed papers from other countries, you can bring some of these implications to the region because you reviewed papers from there, even though the data was not collected within the context of Ghana. And you could add that if the model that they are operating falls in line with what Ghana is operating, then this paper has implication, regional implication. They can adapt it when the structure that they are using is the same as this. And cleverly, you can do that. So be mindful about what the country, you are not looking at, just Ghana, okay, in terms of the review. So this is what you do. Now, so what I'm going to do is that we have a topic here. The topic was about, I just copied it. The role of, I'm not going to critique the topic now because strategic management itself is huge, right? You might want to look at something in strategic management, but let's assume that that's what we are doing. So what we want to do now is that the first step is what? We are saying the research questions, right? The research question. We don't know the research question. Or let me see, let's generate one research question for this. Let me see, where is it? Let me generate one research question for this one. Just a minute. Okay, so let's see. Sorry, I think that can't we enable the waiting room so that we can?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
It's because it keeps.
Mhm.
Oh, okay.
So that anyone can come in.
I think it was disabled. Disabled from the onset. Maybe
Yeah.
while you do this, we did the setup.
Mhm.
Okay, so I have generated 3 research questions based on what we have here. As to whether they align or not, that is a different thing. But just so that we are all aligned very well. So let me see. Okay. Let me share the screen now. So we have this research question, and I just want us to appreciate. So can we have any good Samaritan to read the research questions for one of the students? I just want to see if you can see.
Hello, sir.
Yeah, let's go.
Okay, so research question 1. What are the key strategic management practices adopted by successful corporations, and how do they contribute to improved corporate performance?
Okay, so how do they? So we have, so the key terms here, we have the key strategic management practices. Have you seen it? We are taking the key terms from it. Have you seen that one? And then we have the other one, improve corporate what performance. Strategic management practices, right? And then improve corporate performance. So let's start with a simple search from Google. Let's start with that one. A simple search from Google. Okay. Now, there are a lot of databases that you can use. You can use the ResearchGate, okay, .net. This is Google Scholar. I'm going to use Google Scholar. So what I can do now is that I have a key term for what? Strategic what? Management what? Practices. I have this one. And then I have what and what? Operational what? Performance. Improve corporate performance. Sorry. I have this one. And I'm going to teach you how you can use the other search engines, okay, to do that. So I have this one. And I would like to scale this one because, let me say this, for social sciences, because of how things are happening rapidly, as much as possible, you would want to look for papers within the past 5 years. If it's even 3 years, it's better. So the more current the papers are, the more strong your research findings are, the more current, the more valid they are. Because if you are referring to something for the past 10 years, then you have an issue. If you want to show the past 10 years, then you are showing the trajectory that maybe in 2015, this what happened, 2016, what happened, then you come to the current year. Other than that, we don't accept papers within, the social sciences, especially when we're going to use that literature in discussing the findings of the study, just to, validate what we have done. we don't use those papers. And that is why most of your lecturers will tell you that use current what papers. So you could do this strategic management practice and what corporate, then you say, you can give it a band, maybe 2019 to 2023, okay? Sorry, 2023. So that's what I have. Oh, okay, 2023. So this is what I have. Okay, so what are we seeing on the screen? What are we seeing on the screen? Hello? I want it to be very engaging. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
Okay,
Yes,
so
sir.
you see firm performance here, but this topic talks about what? Something else. You see ranking strategic, whatever, in that order. Okay, exploring the necessity of business practice. You can see a determinant of something. You could do that, but sometimes it's always, please mute yourself if you are not. It's always also good that one of the things you can do is not to put the search together. You could say strategic management practices, right? And you indicate what? The year, right? Something like this. It could pull something directly in that. It could pull something directly, in that area. And take note that whilst you are searching, you see, I've put in the search, but that's not what I've seen. So I would have to keep searching, and it's likely that I will not get a paper strictly that has dealt with these two variables. And that in itself is a good news to me, because then it gives me the opportunity, to do the review. So if I focus on, let's say, a search term like strategic management practices, for instance, I have something on strategy here, all right, which is 2019. Ranking strategy goes with something here. I have European practical and patient something. I'm dealing with management, okay? So I'll keep searching. I'm going to next. I'll keep searching, okay? And sometimes what happens is that it's likely that you might not find anything with a search, but it's part of the activity. Or what I'm doing with you are all deliberate. I don't just want to take you straight to what you're doing, all right? So you go through this. Now, there's a this thing here, behavior and strategies supporting everyday memory. You see the key term was strategic here. So the system is picking strategic as one of the key terms here. And I'm seeing something, like that in there. Now you see management practices here. Have you seen it? There is a paper here. Determinant of radical and incremental innovation, roles of human resource management, practices, knowledge sharing. I've seen a key term like this. Okay, so I will consider this paper. I don't know what it's saying because I'm doing search. So this is the paper. Can you see it? This is the paper. Okay.
Yes.
So what am I going to do? Now, watch here. The table I showed to you, I'm going to pick some details from this work to that table, because in the table you saw something. We have what? ATA. Have you seen it? We have method. We have findings. We have limitation, and then the country. So for this paper, in some of the papers, they would have indicated, which country it is coming from. In some other papers, when you go to the methodology, then they will describe which country that paper is coming from, right? So you can as well, we talked about what the title, which is this one. I can copy this confidently and come to my table, this is the topic of the study. Determinant of something, something. Okay? So this is it. Then, are you guys there? Then I have the method. The method, this is the methodology. It said the study sample is 309 respondents, and structural equation modeling SEM was used for the analysis of the data obtained through the questionnaire survey and all that, right? I can decide to copy everything here, yeah, as the method. This is a preliminary work I'm doing to gather the data. Look at the top, data gathering SWOT strategy. Findings. In fact, this paper hasn't passed the test. The findings should have been part of what, okay, it's here. The findings should be part of it. So it's saying that findings, it said, American findings support the proposed hypothesis, blah, blah, blah. So I'm going to copy the findings from here, okay? And I'm going to put the findings in I'm going to put the findings here. Then the next thing is, please let me do this. Let me move the objective to let me do this so that we have our piece. Okay. So that's what it is. So now let me go to the limitations. I'm expected, but they have recommendation for practice, recommendation for researchers. You remember what I said when I was discussing the research implication? You see, they've indicated recommendation for practitioners, recommendation for researchers, then impact on society and future research. So what are they saying? In this work, they've indicated what future research should look at. I'll take that as what? The limitation of the study, right? They should have added that. And then the country. What is it saying? Future studies should investigate influence of HRM practice and knowledge resources to promote frugal innovation models for dealing with resource scarcity. See, this is a solid topic for another person, if what he's doing is in line with that. And then, of course, when you go through the paper and you scan through, you will see the country in which this work was done. You can use the Control F to go to methodology. This is method. Okay. If you go to methodology, the study will show you. So methodology is here. So it says that the survey was done, blah, 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 blah. 25 Vietnamese. So it's from what? Vietnam. Have you seen it? Hello?
Yes, Doc.
Good.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Oh, Vietnam. So I have Vietnam.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So if I'm able to, for each objective, right? For each objective, if I'm able to get 5 papers preliminary and then organize the paper. So this particular paper, what I will do, what I will do with this paper is this. There's something, a software called Mendeley. And please, when we leave here, let me type, okay, you'll see, let me show it on the screen. It's called Mendeley. Have you seen it? This is it. This Mendeley, right? Mendeley, M-E-N, let me type it. Mendeley. Please, from here, go and download. Mendeley. Have you seen it in the chat? So
Yes, sir.
we have Mendeley. Good. So go and download. Please, when you finish downloading, don't worry yourself. Go to YouTube. I told you YouTube is a friend. I'm doing this thing for you practically. You go to YouTube and then you say how to install Mendeley. Mendeley desktop. Have you seen it? Right? There's a kind person here. He say how to download, install, and run what? Mendeley. It's simple. So go here, download. When the person does it, you do the same thing. It's easy. It will show you how to configure. Is that okay? So you download Mendeley. When you download Mendeley, this paper in question that I have put, I'm going to download it. I'm going to download it. So I have just, I'm just going to put it at download and now go to Mendeley. For the purpose of this class, I'm creating a new folder called Management Practice. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to add, please mute your mic. Afari, you can mute whoever is, yeah. I'm going here, and this is the file. So when you download it, when you extract it here, this is what Mendeley does. Mendeley retrieves everything here. Sometimes it might not be able to retrieve everything, right? So for instance, for this paper, the journal name is not here. So I might have to go and look for the journal name. The journal name is interdisciplinary knowledge something. So let me see if I can copy this. It's not allowing me. So interdisciplinary journal of information, knowledge, and management. So that is done. It was 2017. And then the volume is 18. Pages have been indicated. Some journals have the DOI, which is an indicator to show you, but you have the author. The authors have to be here. And here you are having only one author, which is this guy, but that's not what it is. So you may have to work on some of these things. Okay, the artists, I'm just adding them, right? You may have to work on this. Just to save time, I will not add all of them, right? But that's what it should be. And Mendeley is for Elsevier. So if the paper is from Elsevier, in fact, it's going to take everything automatically. So let's assume that we have this. So the first step, we've been able to get this. The other thing I want to draw your attention to when you are doing this data collection is also the fact that you would have to also, there are sometimes you want to read the paper itself and then take some aspect of it and then use it for your work. In that direction, what you do is, I'm going to use the same thing. So I have the outer. This time, what I have is section here. And I have quotation. And then I have, paraphrase. And I'm going to show you why you have to do that. I don't need the country. So I'm going to take this one off. So I don't need all this. So for this particular paper, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to read the intro. So assuming I started reading, I said, in the increasing complexity and swiftly changing business environment, scholars and practitioners consider improving innovation capability as the optimal and strategic orientation for firms to create value and keep a competitive advantage in the long run. He said somebody said it in 2019, right? He said somebody said it. I think this paper itself is 2020. He said somebody said it, okay? So, but come to think of it, I see that this grammar is very good, oh. It looks good, isn't it? Hello, as an intro.
Yes, sir.
So if I want to use this, watch, if I want to use this, then what I'll have to do is I'll copy this. Because in research, it's just the data we are working on it, okay? We don't use our own English. Dr. Etta told you. It is not how good you are, okay? So I'm going to say that this one will be good for my introduction, right? Then it's a quotation, so I'll put it here. But remember, I picked it from what? This guy's work. But already somebody has said this. So for me, I'm going to paraphrase this one here. I'm going to do a paraphrase. And today there are tools to use for paraphrasing. But when I finish the paraphrasing, I will still have to add the two references. First of all, it is this guy who said it first. This guy, PB something. Let me bring him here. And aside that, this guy, so I'm bringing the reference here. Aside this guy saying this, I took it from this work. So I'm going to cite this guy as well. Okay. And it's easy to do this guy's citation. Do you know why? I can, because I'm using Mendeley, what I can do is this. Watch, I'm copying the topic here. If you're seeing the topic here, and I'm just going back to one of my Microsoft Word documents. That's one. Just for practice sake, watch what I'm going to do. And that's what Mendeley does for you. I want to use the citation. So I'm going to, once you install Mendeley, it gives you, if you go to reference, it gives you another, apart from Word document reference here, it gives you another one. It will take you through the process so you would know. So when I click here, I copied the heading and it brings this one. So this is what I wanted to cite. So it brings it here. But the interesting thing is that when you are working, because you want to be updating yourself, let's assume this work that I'm doing. So this citation is being used somewhere here, okay? What is going to happen is that I'm going to have my referencing what? Cat. So I'm just going to bleep this insert bibliography, right? And here, you check the referencing style here. It's here. Here is Harvard. If you want to change it to maybe APPA, the 7th edition, then you insert. So once you insert, the reference appears. Oh, I pray this thing. And let me tell you, that is also the challenge Mendeley has. Sometimes it will freeze and so just a minute. Let me bring back I have too many files open. Sorry about that. So okay, so that is what we have here. So when I come here, I can go to reference and then insert the, please, have you seen it? Have you seen down here?
Yes, Doc.
I have my referencing. And if I decide to add other references, okay, let me give you another example. Let me go and pick another paper, any paper, and I want to add that paper's reference here. Is the same. I'm just doing this for example. Have you seen it? It's reference, and have you seen it? So by the time I finish, the work is done. I don't need to do any citation. This was just for, so this was what I was looking for. So I'm taking it back to my table. So this guy said this, and this guy also said, because I picked it from the two, right? So what I'm saying is that you can also write it in a certain manner that this guy, that's what he said, but was cited in this guy's work. It's also acceptable. But guess what? I need to paraphrase. And I'm saying that today, you don't worry yourself paraphrasing. There is something called quill boot. Okay? And I sometimes, Dr. Etel, I know sometimes we have a difficulty teaching students these things because we think that they're going to use it for something else. But these are tools that are
We need
available.
to. Yeah.
These are tools that are
I'm with
available.
you. Yes.
Yeah, there are tools that are available. So I have signed up to Quillboot. So you see quillboot.com, this is it. So I'm not going to hassle to paraphrase, right? So what I told you, what I showed to you, this text, I want to paraphrase. I don't like doing it this way. I paraphrase first and take it to Quillboot, right? Because if you don't know how to paraphrase, that becomes a problem. So watch this. This is Quillboot. I'm going to take it to Quillboot. So I paste it here. I know some of you have been using this. And probably what I can do is that I can go to custom and tell it that I want it to be academic. And there are different formats here, modes here, so academic. So watch this. It said in the increasing complex and swiftly changing business environments, scholars and practitioners consider improving innovation capacity as the optimal and strategic orientation for firms to create value and keep a competitive advantage in the long run, right? So the paraphrase said, within the dynamic and intricate landscape of the business realm, scholars are professional alike acknowledge and the enhancement of innovation capability as the most advantageous and strategic approach for organization to generate value. And how do you see the two? Tell me, how do you see it? How do you see it?
Sir, it's nice. The content remains the same.
It remains the same.
But then, different.
So, watch this. There is no way Turnitin will penalize me. You know why? Because I have the reference there, and then I have done the paraphrasing. So this is what I'm going to what? Copy. And I'm going to add this one here as paraphrase. So for my introduction, I have something there. So I've taught you two things. The first one has to do with what? Organizing the articles, this one. The second one is reading some portions of the article and picking data for your write-up, because your introduction has to be written by yourself. But you need to sift data from different sources. You understand? Paraphrasing. So in research, you don't use your own language. Take notes. You don't use your own language in research. You don't do that. Okay? You don't use your own language. What you do is that you pick this packet of what, and then you put them together, and then you paraphrase and order. Please, there's some feedback. So that is it. So I just wanted you to know this. Now, time is fast spent. Now I want to take you to, now that we know how to collect our data, so please, an article every day. Can we start an article every day? Who promised to do that? One article every day. Now, there's also another way to search for the literature. Okay. When you go to Emerald Insight, now Emerald Insight is a database, a search engine. It's a peer-reviewed, one of the top, publishers. So for the topic, for instance, that we talked about, Emerald Insight can do the work easy for us because we are talking about what? Strategic what? Management practice. We're talking about that. So when I go to Emerald Insight, I'm going to do a new search. All right. Watch here. I'm going to click here to say, I want to do advanced search. So what am I going to advance search on? So first of all, it said enter, the keyword. So I'm saying that strategic management process. I want it for only the journal articles. I don't want books. I don't want anything. Now it says add row. Watch. If you add row, it's asking you that M and O. Now, when you say end, we have end here and O. When you say end, right? What you are saying is that it should take that and include the other one that you are going to add. When you say or, it's to choose that one or another. So we had strategic management practice. We want to make sure that the search is very tight so it doesn't bring other papers. So we have corporate performance also here. So I'm going to say that it should add corporate performance. And, right? What else? Maybe I should say that, okay, it should include, papers. Maybe I want to restrict the scope to, let's say, Africa alone. I would have said what? Africa, right? And Africa. Now, if I want to exclude some other papers, I can add and say that what is not. Okay, so I say it is strategic management practices, not what? Strategic management. So that it will focus on that. And watch here. Now it's giving you the date range. So for some of you, where we are saying for only 5 years papers, or you want to restrict it to 3 years, you can say from 2020 to 2023. Then you are done. Then you can click on your search. When you say search, it's going to pull the content, for you. So that's what we have. Oh, I didn't get anything. So I don't have strategic management practices with the exclusion of strategic management. So I'm going to take the strategic management off, okay, and then research and see. I believe that I should be able to get something. Okay, now when I remove that one, I'm getting what here? I'm getting 9,420 papers, and they are all here, right? They are all here. So the papers are here. The papers are here. They are all here. And because you're doing research, even when we have used this thing to search, you still have to now go through this and get the best papers, download, and use them. Okay? Download and use them. You still have to do this. And that is why the literature review is critical. And that is a skill that you have to develop, because it is those who are able to search and find things and find new knowledge, they are able to rule the world. So this is another way of searching, for the papers. Now, now that we know this, now the last thing to do is to look at the types of literature review. Somebody mentioned, we have the theoretical, we have the empirical, we have the conceptual. Now, theoretical review has to do with theories. Theories help us understand phenomena. And in most of the quantitative studies, we use theories. Qualitative studies rather hardly use theories. If you want to use it, they use it as a guide. But the theories are in the belly of the qualitative researchers, because they use grounded theories to generate themes, concepts, and then models, then it graduates into a theory. So we can use, let's say, the theory of Maslow hierarchical of needs just to explain people's level of needs that they have. We can use marketing, some of the marketing theories or technology adoption theories to explain behavior. So that's what theories are used for. So if you're doing a quantitative study, it is a requirement that your study should be guided by what? A certain theory. The theory should emanate from the, as it were, the objectives, or to say the topic, the key construct in the topic. That is where the theory should emanate. So for instance, I'm doing something about, we talked about strategic management and corporate performance. I need some theories about strategic management. I need some theories about what? Corporate performance. Okay. And these things are there. The theories are so many. And most of the times what I do, instead of going to struggling to find out the theories, you can do a quick search. Go to Google, right? Go to Google. And I say that this generation is so blessed. This one, we are not going to Google Scholar. You could do the same thing in Google Scholar. But I want to see Google image, right? At the top here, I'm clicking image. And I want to type corporate performance theories. It will fish out the models in corporate performance, and it will take you to that site, right? And there are a lot of them here. So if you have issues with a theory, to look for which particular theory in that discipline, you come here, it show you the models. You click, you go to that particular site, you see that specific theory. Okay. When you type strategic management here, you'll see. And it is not cast in concrete that when you come here, everything you see pertains to that. You still have to search and look for the appropriate one. And then you see it talks about firm performance, and it gives definition. Then it will take you to the site. Sometimes it's an article that, you see, this one is an article, okay, that talks about, but then I went to Google image and it led me to here. And when you read this paper, it will talk, it has used the performance, the theory in doing something. And then you can come here, either adapt what they have used or take it hook, line, and sinker and apply it. So for the quantitative guys, those doing quantitative study, please, theories explain your variables. We use it to explain phenomena. So if you're doing a study and you have variables in your topic, and you don't have any theory backing it, then you have a problem. The reason is that we want to find out that the strategic management, where did you pick it? Because did you pick it from the management, arena, or you picked it some strategic management from, procurement? Because we all have this construct, and this construct has already been theorized and it's there. So once you use it, you need to indicate where you picked it, so that you now operationalize it, you give it a definition that relates to, what the model that you are using it for. I could pick a theory, a construct from somewhere, okay, and come and modify it and use it in a certain manner. It's acceptable. But where is the source? And this then borders on validity. It borders on validity. So any quantitative study that you conduct without a theoretical foundation, you have issues with validity, because the topic, the construct you have in the topic, how did you generate those constructs? With theories underpins them. What did the theory say in terms of their definition? When you do that, then you'll be able to address validity issues. So that is very, very important. Remember, the objectives came from what? The problem statement. The problem statement also came from what? The topic. So it goes that way, okay? And if you don't do it that way, then you have a problem. So take note about that. The last thing I want to talk about, so we've talked about the theoretical review, and I'll show you, I'll give you an example of a theoretical review. The other thing you may want to look at is also the empirical review. And anytime we talk about literature review, what we have in mind is rather the empirical review. But what is empirical review? They are actually the findings that the peer reviewed papers have found, right? The findings that most of the peer review they have found, okay? What they have found. So most papers, if you go to their findings, they say that they found that. So that is actually what is empirical. It's evidential. It's based on science. We use a methodology to achieve that. So evidence from literature, you get it. So the empirical study, there is a way you review it. There is a structure to it, and you cannot review it anyhow. And I'm going to show you how that is done. And that will be the last. And then the conceptual review. Now, most times when we pick a theory, for instance, a theory like, if you can see the screen, if I pick something like this, if you can see the screen, let me know. Can you see my screen?
Yes, sir, we can.
Yes, we can see.
Yeah, I want to pick
Yes,
up.
you can see.
Okay, so you see this model here. Oh, okay. This should be bigger. So this model you see here. Now we have organizational character, blah, blah, blah. So I picked this conceptual framework. It's a conceptual framework. It's coming from a theory. And this framework has, let me put it in a proper perspective. We call this most times a theoretical framework. Now, but I want to take some part of it, use it for my study, right? So the act of picking some variables from this and modifying it that I can use it for my study is what we call conceptualization. Does that make sense? Conceptualization. In other words, what I'm doing is that I'm taking, for instance, enterprise, this, and I'm dropping the rest, okay? And that is what relates to my study. So we say that we are developing a conceptual framework. Why is it so? We do so because we are taking some construct from that theory. So the theoretical framework is already there, but we are picking this one because we think that it relates to our study. And this conceptual framework is deeply connected to our objectives. In fact, in most jurisdictions, what they do is that they develop the framework and rather use the framework to develop the objectives. In fact, some jurisdictions, the framework even defines everything. They rather work on, I do most of these things. I rather work on my framework and I generate my topic based on the framework because I see what other people have done, what they did, when I drop one or two variables, it becomes a new thing, and then I use that to develop my topic. But you could have your topic, but if you want to conceptualize looking at the variables. So for the variables we saw, one can be this one. The variables you saw, this one. The strategic, what do you call it? Strategic management practices could be one thing which is an independent variable, and then corporate performance could be what? The dependent variables. You understand? Because if you look at the objective, say what are the key strategic management practices adopted by successful organization and blah, blah, blah. So these are two variables. So if I want to pick them, then what I'm doing is I'm conceptualizing. And what I'm going to do to conceptualize it is that I'm going to give it a working definition. And that definition is related to my study. And I just want to show you how this thing is done with other works. Then we draw the curtains down. So I'm going to show you this. So this is a typical literature review of a certain topic that I want to, because of time. Now the guy was studying something about examining the state of, women leadership, the state of women issues in senior leadership in the educational sector of Liberia. Now, in your literature review part, which is chapter 2, and I've done this so that you follow. Of course, you have your chapter 2, the literature review, and normally you come out with your background and indicate, you say that, okay, this section, I'm typing, this section describes the theoretical concept, empirical and conceptual reviews. The theoretical review will focus, and I'm saying will focus if it is a proposal. But if it's a complete work that I'm doing, I will say focused in the past tense. Have you seen how the write-up is done? Focused on the identity theory and state expectancy. I'm just expectancy theory. The empirical review looked at evidential studies for the past 3 years related 3 years, which aligns with the objectives of the study. And then I will talk about the conceptual one as well. Have you gotten it? So when I'm done, and this is what I've typed, watch something. I can take this to Qboot and then ask it to do the corrections, that's small corrections for me. And I, like Dr. Eta was saying, you keep type. Take the data, put them together. You need to do that, okay? Don't wait for a perfect one. So you talk about the conceptual, but watch how the theoretical review, how it's introduced. This is an already work that is done. In the theoretical review, first of all, state what the theory is. It's very important. So for instance, this is social identity theory. That's what relates to the study. It says that this chapter discusses the theoretical framework and, okay, I think I brought this in here. Sorry. This one should have been there. Let me see. Okay. So this thing should have been here. Sorry. And that's the same thing I have done. I've done here. So what I was typing here, the intro is here. This chapter discusses the theoretical framework on which the theoretical boundaries of this research is formulated. And then he talks about other things. But let's look at the theory, right? So the first theory is the social identity theory. This is because I'm doing something in women's gender issues and all that. But I want you to look at the structure. I can share this with you when I'll give it to Afari so that he gives. This theory postulates. Now he's talking about what the theory is. So in writing theoretical review, state first what the theory talks about it, that in a society of organization, a person's belief concerning the status or social identity determines his or her action and physical contact with others. Now, the statement has been made. Now, he's going to make reference to other people, what they've said. He said, according to this, the theory of social identity, as individuals from social groups, they carry out particular social behavior. Now, he brings the reference. And the rest is to explain what the theory says. Now, take note. So you see this part talks about what the theory is and what it says, what is postulates. Then when you come to the other part, it said that I want to show you something by increasing the theory of social. Okay, so in concluding here, it says the theory of social identity shows how gender role in the deciding social roles or status of men and women in organization. So when we review the theory, it's important to indicate how the theory applies to the study. And at the degree level, maybe you'll be pardoned for that, Dr. Etel, if you correct me. Maybe at the master's or the PhD level, you may have to indicate how the theory relates. Maybe at the degree level, it's fine when you state the theory, how it postulates and how it aligns with the study. You can do that. So for theoretical review, this is how, if you want to do the write-up, this is a classical example. From there, we come to what? The empirical review. And that is very, very important. Now, for the empirical review, some other people believe that when they are doing the empirical review, they can add certain things to it, they can bring some theories. Others think otherwise. But there are three things you need to show when you are doing the empirical review. And I'll finish. I'll leave the conceptual review because of time. So for the empirical review, these are the steps. It says state the purpose of the study. State the purpose of the study. State the method of the study, research design or tools. State the findings. Now it says synthesize the findings. And then state the implication of the study. So this is what you do for the empirical review, which we call the actual review that you do. Now, the reason why you are doing that is not because of the chapter 2 alone, because if you don't show how the literature relates to the study, when you get to chapter 4 and you're doing your discussion, you need to pull the literature to confirm what the findings, what your research has found, or to disconfirm it. Because at the end of the day, there are three things we are looking at. The research to confirm a finding, it should disconfirm or bring up something new. These are the three things. And that's why we are researching. So if your literature review doesn't have any relationship with the findings, there's nothing in there, then there's a problem. But if it's confirming, other part is disconfirming, then you, in your limitation or your future study direction, you have said that I mean, this study found that which was contrary to literature. So future studies should also investigate why it is so. So take note of that. Okay. So with this one, you could see a classical example. I'll just read that and draw the curtains down. But in doing literature review also, please, with empirical review, give some sort of background. If you read, it said empirical evidence based on extensive review made so far points to the fact that, okay, this is the implication. Okay, so let me show you a classic one. There's the implication of the study. Okay. All right, so let me just use this one to state that. What we just did, so that I'll write it extempo. So this one, this is the review. So I'm going to do what I said we should do. I'm going to do that. So let me bring a text box and just write it so that you see. So I'm going to do the review. This is the guy, their name is something, okay? I didn't bring the reference here. So let's say the name is Afari. So Afari Etel 20, maybe 2022, studied, watch, I'm writing, studied.
Hello, talk. We can't see your school.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, forgive me. So Afari Etel, I want you to see it clearly. Studied. You see the topic? This is the topic. Study what? The determinants of something, something, something. Okay. Methodology. The second one was method. Watch this. State the method. Have you seen it? So I'm going to the method. The authors they did a sample of 309 responder structure equation modeling. That's what they used. So I said the authors use a sample of 309 and structure equation modeling to analyze data, right? Now findings. Their results show that it said the empirical findings support. So their results support, I'm just rewriting, reporting, support the proposed hypothesis. Hypothesis relating to the, I can add all that I have here to write, right? And of course, I'm going to paraphrase that. So if I've done this, take note. You remember we said quill boot? This one I've written, but do you remember we said quill boot? I'm going back to quill boot. I'm going to paste this one here. And I say paraphrase. So I've done the work. See how he did it. Right? So this becomes what? The review I have done. Oh. And then life is easy for all of us. So that is it. So the empirical review, at the degree level, you do that. At the master's and PhD level, there is something we call, I added that, that's how to synthesize. Because when you are done, you need to compare the literature. Compare the findings from one work, the other findings from one work, and then come out with some sort of conclusion. Okay? If you look at what I was going to show to you, the Jethro's work, where I was talking about implication of the study, which is also very important. Here, he says that after doing all the review, there's something called implication of the review on the study. So what? After review, so what? But here he says, evidence based on the extensive review made so far point to the fact that women in senior leadership are faced with disparity issues in both discipline, in organization, and the real world. Now he begins, for instance, then he talks about this. There's this theory to a large extent. He is reporting. Now he says everything. Furthermore, social identity theory, which hinges on a firm belief, he talks about that. But he's making a point. Now watch. He says that it was also conspicuously noticed that most studies cited and reviewed use the qualitative method either through focus group, in-depth interview, observation, and experiment. Very few use quantitative methods to establish some relationship and causal effect. Now watch this. This is the whole essence of doing the review. Now watch this. It says, this study intends to add to the numerous work of literature available from the librarian educational perspective and also to improve the existing methodologies used by these papers, all that he has done by introducing a mixed method, because most of them have done qualitative, another has done quantitative. So this work is introducing a methodological gap that it is going to address. So this approach, the researcher believes, will generate some new findings through triangulating the qualitative findings from the quantitative findings is done. So all the review you did, this was the essence of it. The implication of the review literature to the study. So after saying that this guy said this and this, how relevant it is to the study? Is it going to improve? We have shown that we are going to improve the literature. We are going to prove the methodology, because there was a lot of quantitative work without, a mixed method. So I just want to draw the curtains down there. We didn't have so much time. I think I've taken much of your time, and it's been a good time, hanging out with you. They're going to keep this video, and I believe that we've been able to, myself and Dr. Ethel, have been able to, a large extent, bring some of the very deep-seated issues in comprehensive literature review. We've brought it to the fore. Thank you so much. And I hand it over to my my younger brother, our project coordinator, Mr. Afari. Please take it over.
Thank you very much, Dr. Boison. Thank you.